Okay, in the original Animal Crossing game, there was something awesome. When you paid off all of your debt back in the GameCube days, you got a big statue in your town signifying the fact that you paid off all your debt. First of all, they need to start doing this in real life. Second of all, why did this never come back to Animal Crossing in the future? Over the years, across the 5 main Animal Crossing games that have released, there have been brand new features that would be introduced with a certain game just to be forgotten about or removed another game or generation later. There's a ton of features that casual Animal Crossing fans nowadays don't even remember or know about ever existing, and I think that that's interesting because it sets each Animal Crossing game apart, especially when it's like some obscure thing that nobody used and everyone forgot about, and then all of a sudden a random video by Rocket Elijah comes up and it talks about it again. So here we are today. There's a lot of really interesting things for sure, but let's talk about this statue a little bit more and what Animal Crossing did with the statue after that first game. This was so cool. Okay, so this idea, I guess, was technically abandoned, but what did they replace it with? Like, what was the celebration that they would give you after you finally paid off all of your debt? Well, in Animal Crossing Wild World, there was nothing. Yeah, just nothing. You pay off all your debt, congratulations, you get nothing. And the last debt is like 948,000 bells, which is like almost 1 million. That's a lot. No reward whatsoever. Animal Crossing City Folk is where they decided to bring something back, a little reward, and then they immediately abandoned the idea after Animal Crossing City Folk. Okay, so in City Folk, after you pay off all of your debt, you get a flag, like a flagpole in front of your house. That's it. This is so interesting to me. First of all, why did they pick this out of anything? I mean, flags are cool in Animal Crossing, but they already have like established locations in every game where the flags typically stand. Even in New Horizons, there's one at the City Hall, and I think there's also one at the airport. So there's like 2 just there by default. We don't necessarily need one by our house, so maybe that's why they abandoned this idea after Animal Crossing City Folk. And honestly, putting a flagpole up as your reward for paying off, and in City Folk it was 1.3 million bells of debt in total, it's not really like the best significant reward. It's not nearly as cool as a statue, right? So I guess it makes sense why this one ended up getting abandoned, I guess. In Animal Crossing New Leaf, when you paid off all of your debt, instead they introduced an unlock where you get to do theme challenges, which is run by Lyle from the Happy Home Academy. Essentially, like, you get a theme, you have to design your house according to the theme. It's like a cool little thing. This idea wasn't brought back as like a New Horizons pay off your debt post game, but I think this idea kind of paved the way into Happy Home Paradise being like a big expansion where you have essentially theme challenges, and now the new 3.0 update has even more theme challenges. So I don't think we really needed it as a reward necessarily, but I mean, I don't know, is this that much cooler than getting a flagpole in front of your house? Like, these are pretty underwhelming. They're not golden statues of yourself. I'm sorry, I'm not letting it go. I'm still upset about it being gone. And then with New Horizons changing up how they do the whole like challenge thing, New Horizons needed a new thing to replace that as the reward for paying off all your debt. And at first it was kind of underwhelming. Like, you could upgrade the exterior of your house for free, but that didn't seem to ever like equate to how much it costs to pay off the debt. But later on, they did give you access to the storage shed recipe, so you can make storage sheds, and that honestly is really worth it because you could just carry all of your inventory essentially with you, or put it down somewhere and have access to it outside without having to go back in your house. That was a huge quality of life upgrade to the game, so that was good. Maybe not as like significant or special, which I'd really think that they should add something, I don't know, like a certificate or a picture or something. The deed to your house would be a cool idea, but no, we don't have anything yet. Not yet. Hopefully one day. When it comes to Animal Crossing Wild World, the first technical sequel in the Animal Crossing series, there was a lot of new things introduced, and a lot of those become mainstays for the series moving forward. But there were interesting things that were also brought in that would maybe last for just Wild World or extend to City Folk, and City Folk was very much similar to Wild World. They're both Gen 2 Animal Crossing games, right? But one thing that got removed after City Folk that was introduced in Wild World was the red turnip. And this one still kind of makes me wonder because it was kind of a cool mechanic, and I don't think it really messed with any gameplay type things. Now, we all know how the regular turnip market works, right? You buy turnips one day, and then you have 7 days to sell those turnips and potentially make a profit if the turnip price is good. However, there was a special red turnip you could buy starting in Wild World, and it was also in City Folk, where you could buy a red turnip on Sundays, plant it, and as long as you watered it every day, the turnip would grow. Then you could choose to sell the turnip on any day you wanted, as long as you continuously watered it so it wouldn't die. And the turnip would be a different size based on how many days in a row you watered it. Essentially, if you watered it for a week straight, you could get a big turnip, and sell it for 16,000 bells. This was a strategy I used in my 100-day challenge. It was a really easy way to guarantee bells weekly, even if it was only 16,000. But if you planted it like right next to your house, it wasn't that hard to forget, and it was an incentive to play every day. This would not end up coming back in Animal Crossing New Leaf, which is surprising nonetheless, because I felt like it was a cool little mechanic that literally any player could learn how to do and pick up and make some bells and benefit from playing every day and feel like your hard work, was a little bit of an accomplishment. Okay, now let's talk about these dumb owls for a second. In the first generation of Animal Crossing, Blathers was introduced about midway through the generation in the GameCube versions of the game. He wasn't actually in the original N64 version of Animal Crossing. That was in Japan. So he was introduced, the whole museum was added, and that became a mainstay of Animal Crossing, of course. But in Wild World, they introduced another owl, Celeste. But Celeste's role has changed quite a bit over the years. You see, in the older Animal Crossing games, Celeste was actually tied to a really cool mechanic that I'm still surprised is gone, but it was star constellations. Back in Wild World and later in City Folk, you were able to draw out constellations in the sky, and based on how clear the sky was and on various nights and what time of the year it was, you could see some of the constellations that you connected yourself in the sky. I don't know how useful it was, but it was a cool little mechanic. I guess since it didn't have that much of an impact, big picture, other than just like, oh look, I connected some dots and now I can see them at all times. And I feel like most people just kind of connected them sporadically. You might have tried to do something cool with it, but then it fell apart and then that was just stuck in the sky of your world for a while. Maybe that led to why this feature ended up being ultimately abandoned long term, but like, it was interesting, right? I'm really surprised it never came back to any capacity, especially with Animal Crossing New Leaf being on the DS. I would understand if they cut it from the Wii version because it was on one screen, but the 3DS version with New Leaf was still a DS, still had two screens, so they could have done it there. They just chose not to. So what did they do with Celeste? Because Celeste was a staple, they didn't want to just like get rid of the character. Well, they made her run the museum gift shop, a pretty underwhelming gift shop, if I may add. She sells a silver shovel. Great. Honestly, I didn't even know what a silver shovel did. Apparently in Animal Crossing New Leaf, if you hit a rock, there's like a 20% chance you'll get ore instead of bells if it's your money rock. Okay. They got rid of the silver shovel after a while, so I guess that one counts too. Actually, while we're at it, silver items in general have kind of been abandoned, right? I mean, the silver axe made sense because the axe would break. Originally, it was the only tool that could break. So a silver axe being better than the default axe was cool, and then you would want the gold axe as the ultimate goal. The silver fishing rod made catching fish easier. There was the silver slingshot that shot 2 pellets instead of 1. And then there was the silver watering can that I think made it where it had a bigger like spray pattern where you could get more flowers at once. Also, apparently in City Folk, you could revive a red turnip that was wilting, but it would cause it to shrink to its smallest size. So I mean, it's better than straight up losing all your progress with it, but kind of had to start over. I don't know. All this stuff's really interesting to me. I know most Animal Crossing fans don't even think about it. They don't have the silver fishing rods stuck in their mind when they go to sleep, but I do. After all of that, Celeste would be changed up again for Animal Crossing New Horizons. This time, she does the whole shooting star thing, which I think is a pretty cool replacement, I guess. I think it's fun. You just like press a button, you get to like, wish on a star, and then the stars wash up on shore, and then you can use those stars to craft some pretty cool furniture pieces later on. And Celeste exists to, what does she do again? I think you can I don't even remember what she does. Something with the horoscope? Does anyone remember what Celeste does? Oh, she gives you recipes to make the furniture for the horoscope set. Okay, that makes sense. That's what she does. Slightly better than running a gift shop, I guess. Also, Kix was an interesting character back in the City Folk days when he was first introduced. He would actually, like, clean your shoes. They didn't do anything with cleaning shoes down the road, but that's how Kix got his start. Animal Crossing City Folk is such an interesting game to me. There's so many quirky things about this game that nobody remembers whatsoever. You could be the biggest Animal Crossing fan and I guarantee you there's something in City Folk that you just did not know existed. For me, that was the DS suitcase. What? I played a ton of City Folk back in the day. Never once did I know that there was something called a DS suitcase in this game. What is it? How does it work? Okay, so if you look back at the original GameCube version of Animal Crossing, there wasn't like a true traditional simultaneous multiplayer where 2 people could play at the same time like we got in Wild World Forward. But there was multiplayer functionality, it just worked differently, 1 player at a time. Essentially, you could take your memory card to someone else's GameCube, put your memory card in the other slot, and then you could visit each other's towns individually. And that was how visiting towns worked back in the day with a little train. What I didn't realize is that they kept this offline option from the GameCube era in Animal Animal Crossing City Folk. But with the Wii not using traditional GameCube memory cards, even though I guess it could have, and it didn't utilize the SD card that the Wii had access to. Instead, if you had a Nintendo DS, then you could use that to transfer your data. So this is even more wild to me than what I thought, because originally when I started realizing and doing research for this and looking into the DS suitcase, I thought it was a way to like maybe transfer your data from Animal Crossing Wild World to the Wii version of the game. But no, it's to transfer your Animal Crossing City Folk data to your DS and then use your DS to go to someone else's house and then use your character to visit their town over there. So for this whole system to work, you need 2 Wiis and a DS, which is a lot. Then when you're done visiting the town, you can then transfer back to the DS your villager, and everything that you did with that villager in that town will be transferred onto your DS, and then you could travel, back home or whatever and use your DS to load your character back, and boom. However, there were some like caveats, like if your DS shut off while carrying the data, you would lose all of the progress and all of your pockets that you had earned during that time traveling. So probably not the most flawless thing that ever existed, but hey, if you're only playing through official means, with the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection being shut down since 2014, this technically is the only way you can legitimately visit other towns in Animal Crossing City Folk. I mean, there are unofficial online servers and stuff like that would work just fine, but hey, I guess this is an option for you. This idea did end up getting abandoned in all future Animal Crossing games, mostly because there was no need for it, with there never being a console-only Animal Crossing game again, because the 3DS version was already portable, and you could just do like local play if you wanted to visit someone. And then Animal Crossing New Horizons was on the Switch, so it was portable too. So let's pour one out for the DS suitcase that is no longer with us, something that was abandoned and forgotten about pretty quickly, I guess. Now, while we're on the topic of Animal Crossing City Folk and obscure features that were then forgotten about and abandoned by Nintendo, this was the Animal Crossing City Folk auction house. It allowed players to sell items to friends using a little thing called Wi-Fi, and I guess you could also do it to other people who are living in your town. So I mean, this was an interesting idea. It was weird. It had like a weird time on how like the bidding worked, and I honestly never used this myself, and I don't really know if anybody actually used this more than just maybe once or twice to see what it was and how it worked, and then I think it was just abandoned from there. I don't think anybody realistically ever used the auction house. Like if you wanted to sell your stuff to your friends, you just go into the town and put the stuff on the ground, and then they'll drop the bells, and that worked fine, and it still works to this day. So I don't think going through the whole steps of the auction thing, and then Lloyd has to mail the stuff, and then if it doesn't sell, he mails it back to you. Like that's just like a lot of extra stuff. So it's no real surprise that when Animal Crossing New Leaf released, the auction house was gone, and instead we got retail, which I think was the closer thing to a replacement. You could then put stuff for sale on consignment, and villagers could buy it, or other players could come by and buy the item that was for sale, which, I mean, it's the same idea, but a little more streamlined maybe. But what's interesting is the auction house idea actually stemmed from something else all the way back in the original GameCube version of the game, where back in the day, you could talk to the gyroid at your house and put items for sale, and then your other friends who were playing on the same memory card or someone visiting could go there and purchase the item that you had for sale, and that was something you could do. But even back then, I don't think that was really used. So I don't know why they kept trying to make this a thing, because I just don't think it was really ever that popular, and maybe they were trying to mix it up. Maybe they thought the auction house was a good idea because it had online functionality, but really just there's quicker ways to sell things. I don't think this is it. And people want a deal. They don't want to, like pay an overpriced price because some kid doesn't know how economics work. I don't know. I think the auction house was better left behind in the past. Honestly, even retail, like the whole consignment thing, I never used it. I never thought that it was really that useful. So maybe it's, something they tried. It didn't really work out and it was left behind, and I think that that's just okay. Animal Crossing City Folk just seemed to be a testing ground, though, for a lot of interesting features for Animal Crossing and a lot of ideas that got abandoned. Like, for instance, for whatever reason in City Folk, Tom Nook can ask you if you want to downgrade your store. Like, after you've spent so much money over time, just like with all Animal Crossing games, the main store will upgrade and change and get better over time. However, there are some benefits, I guess, of some of the older versions of the stores, like better hours or like a mix in between, because the hours do shift. Nook and Go in the game was open till 1 a.m., but it had like the least amount of options of things to buy. But then if you had Nookway, that had less hours and a bigger inventory. So it's like a trade-off. And then Nookingtons, which had a really big inventory, only had hours of 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., the worst out of all the possible hours. But like, I don't know. I want the best store and the most options. I don't want to have to worry about the hours. And fortunately, this feature stayed abandoned and they didn't let you downgrade your store in the future. Instead, they did the whole city ordinances, which carried over for future games where you could have your stores stay open later if you wanted to and didn't make you do this weird choosing thing. I don't know. There's a couple of characters that are like really abandoned. Not just like, oh, we haven't seen them in a while, like Gracie or something, but like these characters were really abandoned. Like Serena, or what was his name? Farley from the original game. These two characters are weird. They both have to do with like fountains. And yeah, I don't know. Serena was this like white chihuahua, and you could throw an axe into the fountain and she'll ask you some questions, and sometimes she'll give you your axe back. Sometimes she'll give you a silver axe. I mean, that's kind of cool. I think you could even get a golden axe depending on how you answer things. And similarly, Farley was kind of the same idea, but for the original Animal Crossing game, he'd reward players with the golden axe, but just the way of doing it was a little different. I don't think you had to throw your axe into the fountain exactly. I'm not 100% sure though. I don't think I've ever talked to Farley in Animal Crossing. He just exists. Nonetheless, Farley was abandoned after the first game, and Serena was abandoned after her debut in Animal Crossing City Folk. She's nowhere in New Leaf, though there might be a line of dialogue maybe out there. I'm not even going to look for footage of it. Allegedly, sourced from Nookopedia, a peppy villager might make a reference to her. And then in Animal Crossing New Horizons, she doesn't appear in the game, but she is on the cover of Animal City, which is the main theme from Animal Crossing City Folk in album form that you can like play in your house, and she's there. So that's it. She's been abandoned. I've raged about this once and I'll rage about it again, and every single time this character ever comes up, but Animal Crossing has done Digby wrong. Our boy Digby just always never treated right. He was introduced alongside Isabelle. He was a new character. He's Isabelle's brother, and it shames me to think that there's a new generation of Animal Crossing fans out there who don't even know who Digby is. Because this character was straight up abandoned. He was in Animal Crossing New Leaf, and he worked on the Happy Home Showcase at Animal Crossing New Leaf, which essentially was this whole area that also was abandoned that would allow you to access these model homes where any house that you passed with something called StreetPass would be displayed. Now, StreetPass in itself was abandoned by Nintendo overall. It was like a 3DS feature where if you had a 3DS with you and you passed someone else with a 3DS, it would exchange data with that 3DS. So your house in Animal Crossing, for example, would then show up in their showcase and their house would show up in your showcase. And it was cool. You could actually go and order furniture from other people's houses. I mean, that's awesome. I used this back in the day, and I only ever street passed one other person. I mean, I did buy stuff from their house. They did have a nice house, so at least I was able to use it. But yeah, Digby was cool. He's the younger twin brother of Isabelle, according to Nookopedia, which younger twin. I mean, okay, he's probably a couple minutes younger. I think that's interesting. I don't know, it's just a shame because I feel like Digby could have been reworked into a new form in Animal Crossing New Horizons. Like, they could have found something for him to do, right? Somewhere? Like, he could have been a side character even in Happy Home Paradise. He was a worker in an Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer for the 3DS, so why did they not, give him something to do? Like, come on, he's such a cool character. You're just gonna abandon him? I'm not happy about this one, if you couldn't tell. He had this cool raincoat. You guys don't know what we're missing, what we've lost. Okay, let's talk about Animal Crossing's abandoned fruit. This sounds like such a stupid topic, but like, who else is gonna talk about this other than here at Rocket Elijah? Okay, ever since the earliest Animal Crossing game, when you moved into a town, your town would be assigned one type of fruit. That would be your native fruit, and that was all great. No matter what, you would either have apple, cherry, orange, peach, or pear trees in your town. But then, if you got fruit from another town, not only could they sell for a higher price, but you also could plant them and then produce more of those fruit trees and sell them for a higher price forever. Infinite money. I mean, not really, but you know what I mean. And then there was one other fruit, a coconut. Is a coconut a fruit? Is it a nut? What is a coconut? Okay, I looked it up. It is a fruit, so we're good there. We were right. Coconuts were interesting though because you could only get them at the little special island, and I think in Wild World they could like wash up on the shore, but these were special trees. They become palm trees, and you could only plant them near the beach. So that was awesome. They didn't quite sell for as much as full-on foreign fruit, but they were kind of in the middle. But for whatever reason in Animal Crossing New Leaf, they decided to introduce 6 new types of exotic fruit, which was interesting. You could then get bananas, durians, lemons, lychees, mangoes, and persimmons, all to grow in your town. They were pretty much like coconuts. They were not quite as much as like the other foreign fruit, but they still were like kind of in the middle. well, but they grew like regular trees with the exception of bananas, which would grow on palm trees. And then on top of that, all of the main fruits had a variation called perfect fruit, which was just like the normal fruit, except they had the gold tint to it. So that's cool, I guess. They did sell for more money, so I mean, there was something going on there. But all of this was abandoned after Animal Crossing New Leaf. So they gave up on perfect fruit. All these extra foreign fruits, they're gone too. And in Animal Crossing New Horizons, we're back down to just the basic fruit that had been there from the beginning, plus the coconuts, which I guess was also there in the beginning. Okay, let's go back to Digby again for a second. I know you guys are going to think I'm beating a dead horse. I'm not, but I just want to point something out because remember how I was like, why didn't they find something for Digby to do that was different for Animal Crossing New Horizons? I still stand by that because Phineas back in the day, he was first debuted in Animal Crossing City Folk, and when New Leaf came out, they didn't need him anymore, so they reworked him and gave him a new role. So back in Animal Crossing City Folk, there was this character named Phineas. He looked like this. You'd see him at the city sometimes, and he would give you like handheld items, so you could get like a balloon or a pinwheel or a bubble wand. How cool is this, right? They decided not to like do a dedicated character just for this in Animal Crossing New Leaf, so they gave Phineas a brand new role. They like reworked him, and now he's a scout leader, and he would give badges for players who accomplish different things in their town. Kind of like an achievement, but a character talks to you about it and then gives you a special badge. And badges are no longer in Animal Crossing at all. An abandoned feature, kind of. So there was like 72 different badges. You could get them for like catching bugs, fishing, anything you could really do in Animal Crossing. I mean, even shopping, selling turnips, gardening, hosting your town for travelers, traveling to other towns, and there's a lot of other things. So you could level up, get the badges, and then there was even higher levels of badges if you did the thing even more often. And it was cool. It was just like a little collectible thing. Now they got rid of Phineas in New Horizons, but they kind of still kept this idea of achievements, but they just tied it into the whole like Nook Miles catalog thing where you did all those challenges. I think that was a good replacement. Phineas got abandoned though, so I don't know if my argument about why they shouldn't abandon Digby works here, because they abandoned Phineas again. He got changed up like twice. They removed his role the first time, reworked him, then removed his role again. So I guess that's better than Digby, but bring Digby back first, then you can find something for Phineas to do. There's roles. They can do stuff. They're just choosing not to. I don't know. I'm still salty about Digby, I guess. In Animal Crossing New Leaf, when they did the big Welcome Amiibo update, which was crazy in itself because getting an update for a game that was multiple years old was really uncommon for Nintendo back then. I mean, it's still uncommon for them now, but I mean, Animal Crossing seems to be the exception. Nonetheless, they introduced a ton of new things, but one of them that never came back was the whole RV system. Now, they did this whole campground part with Animal Crossing New Leaf's Welcome Amiibo update, and then there were these RVs that were parked over here, and you could go inside of the RV. And that was cool. Each RV was different. There was different items inside of it. There was a different character inside of it. And you could actually purchase the RVs by exchanging things called meow coupons. They were kind of like Nook Mile points, kind of, I guess. Then on top of that, they used the amiibo cards, which was something Nintendo was trying to push because the amiibo were successful. Why not do cards also? And this would allow you to like summon a specific character from Animal Crossing, and then you would be able to like see their thing. And that's cool. I mean, it's cool in concept, but I didn't really feel like there was, you know, a big point into having this. It was cool being able to have like special villagers come and stay in your town, but as far as like the utility of just anyone just stopping by there, it wasn't really that important. I felt like with Animal Crossing New Horizons, while we never got the RVs again, we never really got a replacement to this, they could have done something, I guess, with the idea of a villager coming in and having a specific catalog of items that you can purchase from them. That would have been nice, sure. But I think the whole amiibo card thing has been silly from the beginning, and I still think it's kind of silly now. I mean, they did a little bit with New Horizons, but they didn't do the whole camper system, I guess. This was more of a precursor to Pocket Camp, I guess. Nonetheless, it was abandoned and it didn't return in New Horizons. They did at least do something with the whole campsite idea, later on turning Harv's Island from just this like little photography place like it was early on in Animal Crossing into like a full-fledged update area with a ton of like vendors. And that was really cool and still got the charm of feeling like you're camping, but they did away with the like whole RV system. They just didn't do anything with RVs in Animal Crossing New Horizons, and I guess we don't know why. It was abandoned. Also in the past here, we've done a video where we talked about holidays that have been forgotten about in Animal Crossing. So I wanted to at least give it a mention in this video because we're just talking about things that have been forgotten. And Animal Crossing Wild World was interesting because that game did away with all of the holidays that were related to real world holidays. Most of them at least. I mean, they didn't get rid of all of the holidays, but essentially Wild World was a global release. They didn't do like an alternate version based on localization like they had done with the GameCube version. So instead they wanted to have like generic generic holidays, I guess, that could happen at any time. So they introduced new holidays like Yay Day and La-Dee Day. Okay. Yay Day was a really dumb holiday, and it seemed to happen multiple times a year. Matter of fact, Yay Day happened on the 4th Sunday of January, March, May, July, September, and November. Why? I don't know. It was pretty pointless, too. It was just a day to practice complimenting people. You could, like, type up compliment. There was La-Dee Day, which was on the 2nd Sunday of January, March, May, July, September, and November. And this one was just slightly different. It was a competition for villagers to come up with a new town tune. I mean, I guess this is great if you're lazy and you don't want to set your own town tune, but otherwise, why does this happen so frequently? I mean, I guess if you want a town tune and you don't want to do the work, but like, I don't know, this one was really pointless, so I'm not really upset that they didn't add La-Dee Day back. There were other interesting holidays. We won't go into every single one, but there was the Sports Day holiday where you could play sports. One of the villagers has a gun. Why? I mean, it's because they shoot it so that the competition can start. But you get what I mean. Holidays in Animal Crossing have always been weird. And nowadays, instead of doing like specific holidays based on certain locations, they kind of just do all of the holidays that they want to cover. Some of them have a full event tied to them, like Toy Day, and others more just have like items for sale inspired by that holiday, even if it is like a Japan only type holiday or an American holiday. It's just all there. And I think that's cool. I mean, sure, we're not celebrating President's Day in Animal Crossing yet, but we don't need President's Day in Animal Crossing, so I think it's okay. Okay, we need to talk about the Nintendo e-reader. What was this? What was the point of this? I don't know. Even as a kid, in the prime age demographic when the Nintendo e-reader was a thing and they were advertising it, and it was an add-on for the Game Boy Advance where you could scan these cards and get all the data encoded on them, and you can unlock new things in your games with it. Even as like the prime demographic for this, I didn't want this as a kid. It didn't look like fun. I mean, sure, there were commercials and it hyped it up, but like, I don't know. They really believed in the e-reader though. I'll give them that. Animal Crossing in Japan got a new version after Animal Crossing had already released on the N64 and already released on the GameCube. They did another new version called Dobutsu no Mori E+, which added 454 unique Animal Crossing e-reader cards, and it would have a card for every single villager, every special villager, and then the cards would offer new items for players. And in America, there was e-reader functionality though still for the regular Animal Crossing game, and I don't think this was really popular. I don't really think anybody engaged with this all that much. Matter of fact, the e-reader never even released in Europe, and that meant that the European version of Animal Crossing has the e-reader functionality completely removed. So like, it was obvious that they were giving up. But like, I mean, there's Animal Crossing e-reader cards out there. You can find them on eBay pretty easily, so I'm sure someone collected them, but I feel like most of the interest for Animal Crossing and e-reader cards are likely just people who want the Animal Crossing like collectibles, not really because they want to use the e-reader stuff. Yeah, the e-reader was weird. I'm not surprised that it was abandoned. First of all, it doesn't even look like a Nintendo branded thing to begin with. And then second of all, the only thing I ever ended up actually doing with e-reader type things back in the day was I think I had a subscription to Game Informer magazine sometime in the 2000s, and they did these special Eon tickets in the magazine if you bought it. And I had the magazine as like a 9-year-old, and I was like, this is my in. I can get a legendary Pokemon if I ever get my hands on an e-reader card. So I saved that card in like my desk for years and years and years. I think I remember seeing it when I was in high school. Maybe when I came home from college, it was still there. I have no idea where it is now, but that just goes to show you I held on to that for well over 10 years or so, and I never got an e-reader, never was interested in it. So what does that say about the legacy of the e-reader? Animal Crossing New Leaf was on its game when it came to mini games. I'm really surprised they abandoned mini games altogether, because first of all, New Leaf had some really cool little games that you could play that were Animal Crossing type games, like you have to go and hunt fossils or shoot down balloons, things that I did in my 365-day challenge video recently. But like, they didn't just stop there with mini games. They also did like an Animal Crossing Puzzle League game. Like, Puzzle League in itself is like a series of games. There was that Pokemon Puzzle League back on the N64. That was just a cash grab to, get Pokemon fans to buy even more things. But there was just Animal Crossing Puzzle League added into a mini game of Animal Crossing New Leaf. They did this as part of the Welcome Amiibo update, and I mean, it's Puzzle League. I don't know. There is like a little story mode type thing tied into it, and there's like 7 different stages of the Puzzle League stuff, and you can earn Meow coupons, and there's a couple of exclusive clothing items that you can unlock, like this Nintendo 3DS shelf. This is cool. I don't know. This is the coolest item in Animal Crossing New Leaf that was also technically abandoned. I mean, look, there's 3DS games on the shelf. You can actually tell which games they are. It's like Zelda, Majora's Mask. There's like Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, Tomodachi Life, Nintendogs and Cats, Animal Crossing New Leaf, of course, and some Style Savvy game. Why did they put that there? You know, Nintendo has a huge missed opportunity, I feel like, with Animal Crossing, where they can literally give players more collectibles based on Nintendo things, and they will collect them. It'd be like being a collector, except without having to spend a ton of real life money. You can get that experience in a game if you could collect video games on the shelf like this. They've always done that with Animal Crossing. The old games, you could get the R-Wing from Star Fox. There's always been a bunch of Mario stuff, and to an extent, New Horizons still has it, but like, this is really cool in New Leaf, and it's a shame it's not in New Horizons. In New Horizons, though, they did recently add in like the old video game consoles like they had back on the GameCube, and that would have made this list 100% had it not recently came back, even though it's a little weird and you have to be connected to the internet and you have to have a Nintendo Switch Online subscription, which I don't really like, but it's there, and that's what's important. But Nintendo, man, like, they are sitting on a gold mine of potential collectibles that we would engage with if they just like reached deeper and pulled more Nintendo assets out and put them in their game. So I don't know, Nintendo, get on it. They're gonna listen to the specific Rocket Elijah video, right? All right, we need to talk about Animal Crossing Wild World, the game that has the most scams out of any Animal Crossing game. And by the most, I mean, I can think of 2 offhand. There's probably more. Okay, in Animal Crossing Wild World, there's of course the whole Lyle insurance scam. We've talked about it before. It's a pain, but we've only occasionally ever brought up the town of Boondox. I think we talked about it maybe one other video ever. Essentially, in Wild World, there is a donation fund at the post office that you can send money to help a town that is not doing well. I don't know, there's a very interesting lore dump in there to try to, you know, make you feel bad for this town that has it worse off than you. Like, they eat fried dirt because they don't have normal food. Nonetheless, you can donate money, and every time you donate a certain amount of money to this other town, you get something. Not really ever much. The first 10,000 bells you donate, you get a green feather. 50,000 and 100,000 bells, you get letters. 200,000 bells, a blue feather, so on and so forth, all the way until 1.4 million bells, you get a white feather. And then after that, when you've donated a total of 3.2 million bells, you get a letter that the town of Boondox has been renamed to Boondopolis because of your help. But then if you're crazy, you can keep donating after that. If you donate as much as 6.4 million bells, and mind you, this is Wild World, so pre-Animal Crossing bell inflation when bells are a lot harder to come by, you got a rainbow feather. That's it. Is this a scam? I don't know. I mean, you get a feather, a really expensive one, but I'm not convinced Boondopolis even exists. There is like a little side part about this where like a cranky villager might make a claim that they've heard Tortimer talking about either like eating steak well or maybe installing a new TV after the player makes a donation. I haven't seen this personally because there's no way I'm sending my bells willingly to the Boondocks. I'm sorry. I do think that this was a very clever, little fun, random thing to put in Animal Crossing Wild World. And obviously it didn't return because like, what's the point of this? But it was cool, and it's something that's unique historically for Animal Crossing from Wild World. And I really like the fact that there's lore of some character out there called Tiny Tommy Hicks who lives in Boondopolis and he struggles. You know, you gotta feel bad for him. I just imagine it's just like Tommy from Timmy and Tommy, not a different character altogether, but still, who knows what the lore is. Now, earlier in this video, we talked about how in Animal Crossing City Folk, you could use your DS, put your character on the DS and go somewhere else. But there was something else that they used with the DS for Animal Crossing City Folk that never did return. And this one's really interesting because it was essentially cross-game data changing. What does that even mean? Okay, this is actually kind of cool, but if you look at all the years of Animal Crossing, the game series is divided into 3 main generations. We have the first generation of games, which was the N64, GameCube era, and the Japanese GameCube re-releases. Generation 2 is interesting because it was Wild World and City Folk together kind of in this one generation. And then Generation 3 was the New Leaf era where the character got pants. And then New Horizons is the 4th generation with like even more detailed features, which essentially divides the 5 games into 4 different generations, right? But if you look here, Wild World and City Folk are in the same generation, which is unique, but there's actually more compatibility between these 2 games than what you might initially think on the surface. They added a feature in Animal Crossing City Folk that allowed you to transfer your character from Animal Crossing Wild World, something that I'm pretty sure nobody really ever did, except maybe way back in the day when the game first came out. I'm pretty sure nowadays, anybody who's playing Animal Crossing City Folk now, probably, unless they're playing on their old save, does not use the DS transfer feature called the moving van. Matter of fact, I tried to find footage of this to show as like B-roll and explain like what this whole system was, and all I could really find was old videos that are 14 plus years old, specifically a re-upload of the trailer that Nintendo made showing how the feature worked. So what does that even say here? Now, the reason that this feature wasn't really that popular was because it was very limited in what you actually could do from your DS to your Wii version. The best feature was the fact that your catalog would come over, and I guess your face, hairstyle, and name would also transfer over. That was kind of it. So there really wasn't like that much incentive to go through the effort of doing it. I mean, the catalog, I guess, is kind of helpful, but I don't know, you're just excited to play a new Animal Crossing game after a few years. What I think is the most interesting thing, and the thing that I wish was documented more, was the fact that there is alternate dialogue that you get early on in the game if you transferred from the DS. Tortimer and Rover both have different lines kind of acknowledging some sort of deja vu, because it's implying that they've seen these characters before, and I think that that's really cool. Fortunately, the text is archived, and this obviously was not continued in later entries, though it would have been cool if you could have transferred your face, even if it was just your face and your name, from City Folk to New Leaf, and then imagine New Leaf to New Horizons. It'd be kind of like a version of how in Pokemon you could transfer your games from 3rd generation all the way up technically if you wanted to. Nobody really does it unless like they're specifically trying to like do it for like content, or I'm sure there's some people that do it, like a very small percentage of people who've transferred their Pokemon over the years all the way from 3rd gen upwards. But knowing that you could do it is what's special, right? I think I could transfer all my Pokemon from 3rd gen, 4th gen up into 5th gen, and then I think I fell off somewhere after that. It got too complicated. But hey, I took solace in knowing I could transfer them further if I did want to. And then they kind of cut some of the Pokemon out a few years ago. I wonder if you can get them all back now. Did they ever fix that? I don't follow Pokemon close enough, I guess. But imagine if you could have taken something from the DS, or even better if it was like the N64 era or GameCube era, and then transfer it all the way up, just like a badge or something special to acknowledge your commitment over the years to the franchise. That would have been really cool. But they just dropped this after City Folk, and it never came back. It wasn't really that useful, so it's okay, I guess. So yeah, those were my picks for today's video. There's a lot of other things that have been forgotten and abandoned, so if we missed one that you think's important, let me know in the comments. I think there's room to do another version of this video down the road where we talk about other characters and stuff. I've just talked about a lot of characters before, like Gracie and stuff. I didn't want to like rehash it, but yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think.